चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथं तं सजीवं सद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादं सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखं वितंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
So our theme is Shishi Tattva. Srila Prabhupada said the perfection of life is to sit before Tattva and chant Hare Krishna. That's the conclusion of the class. So we could just do that for the next hour. But Shyam won't be happy if I suggest that. But that we have to know what the conclusion is, and then we have to build up to the conclusion. And that's why we study, that's why we read the books that Srila Prabhupada tirelessly translated, produced, and reduced his sleep so that we could have this knowledge. And by studying this knowledge, we build the conviction to sit before Tattva as the conclusion and perfection of life and chant Hare Krishna. Because when we do that with knowledge, we can actually do that. We actually experience the holy name, the realization, and the holy name with that attitude of surrender and attention to Krishna's name, everything else becomes revealed. So, I'm going to begin with a question for everyone. And depending on how you answer this question, we'll see what happens next. But whichever way you answer the question, I will then share a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita about Panca Tattva, and then unpack that verse a little. And then I'd like to share 3 key principles that summarizes the Panca Tattva, summarizes who they are, summarizes more their kind of character, their life, their mission, and how these 3 things that summarizes their principles are available for us to follow. Sometimes we hear that Lord Chaitanya appeared 500 years ago, performed his Leela, but that Leela continues today. Panca Tattva's Leela continues today. You are all continuing Panca Tattva's Leela today. So my conclusion today will be both a blessing and an instruction from Srila Prabhupada. And when you hear that, you realize how having a center like this, having the words of Gornitai, coming together in Sangha, doing all the things you do, is actually Panca Tattva's mission. So we're all on, we're all members of Panca Tattva's team. And taking time to step into their world in the Chaitanya Charitamrita allows us to solidify the role that each of us play in their team. If you're playing, you've got to know who you're playing for, right? You can't just play. Whose side am I on? We're on Panca Tattva's side, and they're a pretty good side to be with. Is that okay? So that's my flow. So here's the question. Simple question. What do we already know about Panca Tattva? How many of us in the room?
It's like a tiny drop in the infinite ocean is what we know. And the more you come to know, the more you realize that you don't know. And we have to remember that Sri Krishna and Lord Chaitanya are inconceivable and unlimited. So we can never grasp the Lord within our fist. We can never fully comprehend it, but we can know something. And he can reveal himself to us. So I would say what we know now, even if we might think we know quite a lot, it's a drop in the ocean.
That's very deep and profoundly perfect, because the Lord is unlimited. Ananta Seshu repeats the glories of the Lord, hasn't repeated one thing yet. Everything's ongoing and everything's ever fresh. So he hasn't come to the end of that glorification. So you're absolutely right. I guess my question is, what is the limited drop in the ocean that everybody knows? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Okay. Well, that's a conclusion, isn't it? So maybe that's a sign we should just do that for the next hour. No, thank you. Yes, their life, Mahaprabhu's carrying the gift of the holy name from the spiritual world, he's sharing it with everyone. But that his associates that make up the Panca Tattva, it's their mission also, and we'll get into a bit of that, how it's their mission and how each one of them contributes to that mission. Yes, Mataji. They came to spread love of God, and they continue to spread love of God through all of you in Kori.
As we surrender.
As you surrender, yes.
Gauravani
summarized the Panchatattva in 5 really simple truths. I don't remember all of them, but I remember Advaita Acharya, from him we can learn the power of prayer, because of him, the rest of them flow.
Yeah, we'll jump into Advaita Acharya also. Yes, Prabhu.
Like when we start doing our rounds, we have to say Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Gaura. So we can only get the full benefit of when we chant, and Kirtan as well, as when we tap into the mercy of the Parampara.
So the Panchatattva mantra, there's no offense when you chant it. There's no offense. As we know, if you chant Hare Krishna, then Krishna takes some offense. So we have to be careful about that. But Panchatattva mantra, there's no offense.
The manifestations of different energies of the Lord?
Yes, we'll get into that too. Different energies and energetic. 2 of them are energies, and the other 3 are sources of energy. So we'll get it. Yeah, we'll unpack that a little. Anything else? What else do we? Yes, Maggie.
Yeah, the most merciful.
The most merciful, absolutely. Each one of them represents devotion in some form, a devotional focus. And devotional focus is always service. So the key theme for Panchatattva is service, devotional service, service to each other and service to others. Yeah? Anything else? Okay. Oh yes, right at the back.
They're very dear associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, just like Krishna and Krishna Lila comes with all his associates.
Yes.
Panchatattva Buddha is very close dear associates. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually said that to not glorify the Panchatattva is actually a defense. We should always glorify Krishna Mahaprabhu. We should glorify
There's a verse in the chapter that I'll share with you. There's a verse that says the best way to offer prayers to Lord Chaitanya is to offer the Panchatattva prayer. If you want to speak about Lord Chaitanya, then you have to offer a prayer to Panchatattva so that you can speak about them. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who's the author of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he writes like that. He Koti Namaskar means again and again I offer my Namaskar, my obeisances to Panchatattva. Only then, he says, Chaitanya Vihara, only then can I describe the glories of Lord Chaitanya. So it's very nice to see that between Gaur Nitai you actually have a picture of Panchatattva. Sometimes you just have Gaur Nitai. But I like the fact that you have Panchatattva there, because that, Gaur Nitai is complete, but it's more complete.
One of the things, we must seek the mercy of Nityananda. And if we have the mercy of Nityananda, then we can have the mercy of Mahaprabhu. And then if we have the mercy of Mahaprabhu, we get the mercy of Radha Krishna.
Yeah.
And Nityananda is so important because he is Balaram, who is the original guru, although Balaram is guru for 4 of the rasas, and Radharani is the guru for Madhura ras, and then we must go to Gadadhar. As I was saying before, it's all inconceivable.
It is, yeah.
We can say these things, they're difficult to understand, but Mahaprabhu was not happy if you didn't worship Nityananda.
Right. We'll get into that a little also. And I'll keep it at the level that's kind of relevant for us. And because on each of these personalities we could arrange seminars on
Each one.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the Chaitanya Charitamrita in Adilita, in the first chapter, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami starts with prayers. And he prays to all the spiritual masters, he prays to Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, then he prays to all of the Panca Tattva. The same verse that he prays in chapter 1 appears again at the beginning of chapter 7, and the title of chapter 7 in the Adi Leela is Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. So I'd like to share that verse, maybe we can chant it together, that works. And then we'll try and unpack that, and we'll use the picture on the screen to see who's who. Do you all want to find it and repeat it with me? So this is Adi Leela, chapter 7, text 6. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 7, text 6. Everyone got it? Okay, we'll do a line by line. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam
Panchatattvatanam Krishnam
Bhaktarupa Swarupakam
Bhaktarupa Swarupakam
Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam
Bhaktavataram Bhaktyathyam
Namami Bhakta Shaktikam
Namami Bhakta Shaktikam
Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam
Panchatattvakam Krishnam
Bhaktarupa Swarupakam
Bhaktarupa Swarupakam
Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam
Bhaktavataram Bhaktyathyam
Namami Bhakta Shaktikam
Namami Bhakta Shaktikam
Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam
Panchatattvatanam Krishnam
Bhaktarupa Swarupakam
Bhaktarupa Swarupakam
Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam
Bhaktavataram Bhaktyathyam
Namami Bhakta Shaktikam
Namami Bhakta Shaktikam.
The Prophet's translation. Let me offer my obeisances unto Lord Shri Krishna, who has manifested himself in 5 as a devotee, expansion of a devotee, incarnation of a devotee, pure devotee, and devotional energy. So what word is repeated here?
Devotee.
Devotee. And that's very important. So please repeat. Let me offer my obeisances
Let me offer my obeisances
unto Lord Shri Krishna,
unto Lord Shri Krishna,
who has manifested himself
who has manifested himself
in 5
in 5
as a devotee,
as a devotee,
expansion of a devotee,
expansion of a devotee,
incarnation of a devotee,
incarnation of a devotee,
pure devotee,
pure devotee,
and devotional energy.
and devotional energy.
Short purport by Srila Prabhupada, but it kind of sets the scene, which we'll then draw on. Sri Nityananda Prabhu is the immediate expansion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as his brother. He is the personified spiritual bliss of Satchid Ananda Vigraha. His body is transcendental and full of ecstasy in devotional service. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is therefore called Bhakta Rupa, the form of a devotee. And Sri Nityananda Prabhu is called a Bhakta Swarupa, the expansion of a devotee. Sri Advaita Prabhu, the incarnation of a devotee, is Vishnu Tattva and belongs to the same category. There are also different types of bhaktas or devotees on the platforms of neutrality, servitude, friendship, parenthood, and conjugal love. Devotees like Sri Damodar, Sri Gadadhar, and Sri Ramananda are different energies. This confirms the Vedic sutra. Parashaya Shakti Vividevi Shriyate. All these bhakta subjects taken together constitute Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself. So, I think as devotees we usually get used to saying, when we talk about Lord Chaitanya, we say he's Krishna who has come in the form of a devotee. when we introduce Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to someone, he's Krishna in the form of a devotee. And that is important. However, all the other Panchatattva are also aspects of being a devotee. And we'll unpack that in a moment. Let's just spend a little time with Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. However, it's not just Krishna himself. He is the combination of Radha and Krishna. Radha, Krishna, Nahi, and he is the combined form. So I'm not quite sure who came first. Did Lord Chaitanya come first and he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then they separated, or was it Radha and Krishna and they came together? That's inconceivable. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appearing in this world is because of this deep emotional experience that Krishna goes through. And Kaviraj Goswami says, when Krishna came to this world, he brought love of Godhead, but he kept the seal on it. He kept the seal on it. The seal wasn't broken. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to this world, he broke the seal. But he didn't break it just himself. The entire Panchatattva broke this seal on the storehouse of love of God. When Krishna meditates on the situation of the age of Kali, he becomes emotional, he is brought to tears, that what more can be done for the people of this age, and then that creates the decision for him to appear in this beautiful form of Lord Chaitanya. Kaviraj Goswami says, the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, Karuna Avatar. And he is an incarnation that is given something that no other incarnation ever gave before. But he's an incarnation that all living beings in this age of Kali can actually emulate, because he's the form of a devotee. He's the standard of a devotee. He teaches how to be a devotee. So we know how to be a devotee. Well, how does Lord Chaitanya be a devotee? How many of you know this phrase, be a better version of yourself? When the phrase started coming around, everybody was on it. Yeah, everybody should be a better. I now hate the, I don't like the phrase anymore because it's overused. But when I use it, one of the reasons I don't like it is because according to whose standard am I going to become a better version of myself? My own standard. But if I say, okay, let us all become better versions of ourselves according to the standard given in Bhagavad Gita, you know, what's dear to Krishna in chapter 12. There's a list of 30 points in chapter 12. These items are dear to Krishna. So as I wake up tomorrow morning and I think, okay, Pradyumna, become a better version of yourself, am I going to draw on those points and make that my standard? Because that's the standard of human being that Krishna wants us all to become. So similarly, with Mahaprabhu being the form of a devotee, he's the standard of a devotee. Because he's come to teach how to be a devotee. The only incarnation who can do that. It's very hard to emulate any of the other incarnations. Can we emulate Lord Ram? Be a little bit. Be obedient, try to be ideal, Maryada Purushottam, behave in the right way, have the right etiquette, the right speech, and so on. So maybe a little bit we can emulate Lord Ram. We just mustn't banish our wives in the forest. I mean, we can't copy that. There'll be a scandal. Can we emulate Vamanadev? You can try, depending on the size of your feet.
He was a dwarf.
Yeah, well, there you go. Can you emulate Lord Nrsingadev? I mean, we get angry, but forget your anger, that's going to go nowhere near Lord Nrsimha there. So you can go through all the incarnations, you can't emulate. But Mahaprabhu, the reason Krishna comes as Mahaprabhu, so that there is a standard that we can follow in emulating him. So Bhakta Rupa. Now, when we look at the picture of Panchatattva, it's uniform. You will never look at a picture of Panchatattva and say, well, why are they standing like that today? You know, if I said, right, at the end of this class we're going to go out and we're going to have a group photo, I don't think we'd apply a science as to how we're all going to stand. You know, we'd just scrabble together and take a picture. But Panchatattva, they stand in their respective place. You know, if you brought Panchatattva together and say, okay, Panchatattva, we're going to take a picture. They know exactly where to stand. Actually, Prabhupada made reference to a photograph. Somebody was painting Panchatattva and there was a question, should I paint them as a perspective? So, you know, there's a hierarchy. Prabhupada said, no, just like a photograph, straight line. Just, they're standing in a straight line. So, if Panchatattva take a photograph, okay, their outfits may be different, their gestures may, but they stand in exactly the same place. Why? Because there's a science behind that. So, in the middle is who? We know that. So, in the middle is Lord Chaitanya. On the right side of Lord Chaitanya is who? Lord Nityananda. Everyone needs a right-hand man. You got right-hand men? Many, good, yes. The Lord has many right-hand men. They go off and take care of the whole universe. So, Krishna, Mahaprabhu, they have, yes, an immediate right-hand man, and then they have right-hand men. And as we hear here that, or as we heard earlier, that Nityananda is Balaram. Balaram is Krishna's first expansion. And Nityananda is non-different. But as Panchatattva, he is this devotional expansion. So everything about Lord Nityananda is his connection and service to all the jivas, to the entirety of creation. You know, from Balaram come the first, you know, Chaturvyuha, four-fold expansion. Then there's another expansion, and then from that second expansion comes the Vishnus that predominate material creation. Mahavishnu, from the pores of his skin, everything emanates. All creation emanates. Every single universe. In each universe, the Lord enters as Garbhoddha Vishnu. And then in the hearts of all beings, in the atoms of the entire creation, Vishnu, Shirodakshaya Vishnu, Paramatma expands. But if you reverse the cycle, they all come back to Lord Nityananda. So for devotees, we can consider the Supersoul to be Lord Nityananda, because the Supersoul is the expansion of the expansion of the expansion of Lord Nityananda. Why? Because he's Guru. He's guiding this devotional process. He's guiding this devotional practice. He's inviting everyone back to this devotional life. And therefore he's very compassionate. So if we look at Lord Chaitanya's life, Lord Chaitanya, when he left Bengal, he said to Lord Nityananda, right, the mission is yours. You go out, you go out door to door, take Haridas with you. You go out door to door, you go and share the holy name, you go and run this mission, you go and make devotees. I'm going to sit in Jagannath Puri and go into my internal ecstasy. Because that's one of the reasons I came. But he left the mission to Lord Nityananda. Again, this is scientific. It's not an accident. It's not like, well, any volunteers who wants to kind of run the mission? And Nityananda puts his hand up and says, over to you. It's very specific. It's very deliberate. And it's based on his relationship and connection to Mahaprabhu, but also Nityananda's relationship and compassion when he looks out to all the jivas. He's already sitting in their heart, offering this, devotional guidance. So, and in the life of Lord Nityananda, we see how he executed that compassion. And in scripture, we always find the most extreme cases so that it includes all cases. And the most extreme case was Jagai and Madai. Lord Nityananda went out because Mahaprabhu said go out, knocking on people's doors, bowing, falling at their feet. Please take the holy name. Just put a bit of faith in this and just chant the holy name, and pure love for the Lord will arise in your heart. But with Jagai and Madai, they saw them. They were tormented by them, but they returned. Nityananda felt that Mahaprabhu would be ecstatic if I went back, and if someone like that can turn to Mahaprabhu and someone like that can revive that dormant love for Krishna that they have, that would fulfill Mahaprabhu's mission. So Nityananda returned. Now, of course, on that return, we all have heard the story. Nityananda got hurt. Nityananda got hurt. A pot was thrown, he was bleeding. And Mahaprabhu's immediate response to that was to pull out his Sudarshan Chakra and to annihilate both of them. Annihilate Jagai and Madai for hurting Nityananda. But Nityananda fell at Mahaprabhu's feet and said, no, not in this incarnation. Put it away. Put your chakra away. You can't kill in this form. This form is only about love. And so he shows that mercy is more powerful than justice. Sometimes when things go wrong, especially in the atmosphere of the world today, there's a lot of call for justice for so many. But Mahaprabhu's mission is, okay, first, Nityananda's mood, first mercy, over and above. Put the chakra away. You're going straight to justice. Have that compassion. And one of the things that Nityananda responded to was I think it was, I can never remember who threw the pot and who said you shouldn't throw it again. But Nityananda responded to that little bit of remorse. Hey, don't hurt him again. You've already thrown it. He held him back. And Nityananda said, there is a little transformation here. And you should respond to that. So Nityananda, if he can do that for Jagai and Madai, he can do that for every jiva. Looks for that little bit of transformation. That is the nature of this devotional expansion. That is the nature of missionary devotees. We look for that little bit of something. That little bit of opening, that little bit of interest, that little question. Where did that come from? Somebody asks something, somebody makes an inquiry. So as missionaries, as preachers, we look for that little inkling, and then Prabhupada said, that little spark that you can then fan. And that's Nityananda. Nityananda is ready to fan the spark, any little tiny spark of interest in Krishna. Nityananda and his followers, ready to spark that. So as Lord Chaitanya's right-hand man, he does what a right-hand man does. A right-hand man takes care of the entire show on behalf of the boss. Will run it, take care of it, everything will run the way it's meant to run. And that's Lord Nityananda. He is the head of the mission. He is the most compassionate. And again, we can emulate that. We can carry compassion. We can look for that tiny spark, that tiny inkling in anyone that we come in touch with. And continue to fan it. Even when that spark kind of grows a little, we still continue to fan. That's what Sangha is. We continue to fan, we continue to support, we continue to care, we continue to guide, we continue to uplift and instill and share and deepen faith. Until that faith ultimately becomes pure love. So this is Lord Nityananda. Right-hand man, head of the mission, full of compassion, and he's looking for that little inkling that can be fanned and ignited into pure love. Then he, on his right, is who? Advaita Acharya. And Advaita Acharya is glorified for the intensity of his prayer. Advaita Acharya is considered to be now Krishna, expands into Balaram, Balaram then further down expansions becomes Mahavishnu, from the entire universe. So Advaita Acharya is that Mahavishnu with the combination of Sadashiva. So his appearance ahead of Mahaprabhu, to survey what's actually going on in this age of Kali, age of quarrel, age of darkness, age of hypocrisy, what's actually going on. And he's very saddened by that. Very saddened. Now, as an expansion, he could take care of the whole thing. That's what expansions and incarnations do. They descend and they establish dharma. But in this situation, Advaita Acharya felt, no, I'm going to have to bring the Lord directly, So, the intensity of his prayer, sitting on the banks of the Ganga, just calling out, my Lord, you have to come. This situation is dire. You personally have to be here. And only then can we open this seal of love, that Krishna brought. We don't know how to get into it. People don't know how to get into it. Bhagavatam begins with people are lazy, people are misguided, people are short-lived, so much distraction in this world. And Advaita Acharya surveyed all of this and felt all of this and felt that even his contribution wasn't making a difference. So I invoke, the Lord to descend and for him to teach us how to do this. As I said earlier, the theme of all five is that they're all representing an aspect of being a devotee, or this devotional ecstasy, devotional experience. But the foundation of being a devotee is service, being a servant. So even though Advaita Acharya is older than Lord Chaitanya, he looks for opportunities to serve Lord Chaitanya. So Chaitanya, when you read the chapter on Advaita Acharya, the beautiful verse that captures this about Advaita Acharya, he says, Chaitanyara dasa muni, Chaitanyara das, Chaitanyara dasa muni, dase anu das. So there's no emphatic statement by Advaita Acharya than this. I am a servant of Lord Chaitanya. I am a servant of Lord Chaitanya. I am a servant of Lord Chaitanya. I am a servant of the servant of Lord Chaitanya. Yeah, that's my identity. So he gets into this mood. But because Lord Chaitanya is also in the form of the devotee, guess what he wants to do? He wants to serve Advaita Acharya. And Advaita Acharya is not comfortable with that. So because he's not comfortable with that, he then created a situation whereby he could feel comfortable with that. So one time Advaita Acharya started preaching Mayavad philosophy. The Jiva is the same as Krishna, is the same as the Jiva, is everything's one. And the news trickled down to Lord Chaitanya that we have no idea what's going on with Advaita Acharya. He's flipped. He's speaking stuff that he really shouldn't be speaking. And it's quite offensive. I mean, Mahaprabhu, you don't really want to go there because you'll be offended. And Lord Chaitanya felt, well, no, if that's what he's speaking, I must go there and, slap him up. That's why we record, by the way, so if we say something wrong, then you'll come after me on the train to Leicester. If you say something wrong, we'll slap you up. Said the wrong thing. Here's the proof.
You did slap him.
Exactly. So even though, no, you shouldn't go there, wow, I'm going there right away. I'm going there right away. And he walked in, slammed open the door, and there's Advaita Acharya spouting this Mayavad philosophy. And Lord Chaitanya jumps on him and slaps him up. Don't do this again! This is the wrong philosophy. I know your name's Advaita, but stop it! And Advaita was satisfied. He said it was the only thing I could do so that I don't take your serve, I take, you are my master. And Kaviraj Goswami, when he describes the three, he says, Nityananda is Prabhu, Advaita is Prabhu, but Chaitanya is Mahaprabhu. And both Prabhus serve the Mahaprabhu. So, everyone on the right-hand side of Lord Chaitanya is in an expansion. They're God. Lord Chaitanya is God, and everyone on the right is God also, to keep it simple. But they are expansions and expansions and so on. Everyone okay with that? Any questions on the right-hand side? All good. Now, on the left-hand side is Shakti, energy. And so the first person on the left-hand side is Gadadhar. Now, Gadadhar is directly Radharani. And again, the theme of service. And if you look at the life of Gadadhar, when Mahaprabhu, you could use the word retired, but when he was in Jagannath Puri and he was just absorbed in this deep ecstasy of experiencing Radha's love and the emotions of pure love, Gadadhar Pandit made a vow not to leave that arena. He took what we call Kshetra Sannyas. Sannyas means to be detached from the world. Kshetra means you pick a place where you're not going to leave. Kshetra means a field, but you pick a location. Okay, I'm not going to leave Crawley when I take sannyas. Be careful of that one. The GBC may not. They may want you to go to Leicester or something. Maybe we'll swap. So, for Gadadhar Pandit, I will take Kshetra Sannyas. Why? Because Mahaprabhu's here, and because I will serve Mahaprabhu. And one of the main services of Gadadhar Pandit for Mahaprabhu was to read Srimad Bhagavatam, so that Mahaprabhu could be more deeply absorbed in hearing about Krishna. So there's Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Prabhus serve Mahaprabhu, but Gadadhar, as this devotional energy, serves all of them. It serves all of them. So this theme of service is so crucial. And then on the far left, we have, who's left? Srivas. So Srivas is Narada Muni, the perfected jiva. So Srivas is a jiva just like you and I. But he represents the pure devotee, again, setting the standard, setting the version of pure devotion that we can aspire for, that we can emulate, that we can live. And Srivas, he opened up his home for Mahaprabhu to establish his mission. You know, he opened up his home so Mahaprabhu could come for his nighttime kirtan with his associates. That, you know, nobody could go into those kirtan. You know, it was a very closed affair. But Srivas offered his home for that, and he wouldn't let anyone disturb that service. He wouldn't let anyone anywhere near what Mahaprabhu needed to experience, who Mahaprabhu needed to be with in that kirtan. Now, Srivas was a married man, he had a family. And again, we always hear of extreme, just so that it includes all eventualities of life. But the most ultimate and most challenging eventuality for a grihasta is to lose a child. It's like the most shocking thing for anyone to experience. So in the midst of this kirtan, Srivas, there was a feeling, and he stepped out and went, and the women of the house said, "Your son has died." And Srivas' response was, "Okay, he's died, but I don't want you to disturb the kirtan. Don't want you to say anything. If you need to cry, just quietly. Nothing, not even the death of my son, should disturb Mahaprabhu's kirtan." That's pretty extreme. Mahaprabhu did find out. Why didn't you tell me? Why did you not interrupt? So this, what we realize in Chaitanya Charitamrita is this regular, mutual exchange of serving one another. I'm not going to tell you because I'm serving you, I don't want to disturb the experience you're having. Mahaprabhu says, you should have disturbed me because I want to serve you, because you're going through the houses in lamentation. You should have disturbed me. But what that led to was the revival of this dead child, who then spoke pure philosophy and passed away. So Srivas went through, and again, resembling the challenges that jivas experience in devotional life. He went through that challenge. He went through the challenge of somebody offending him. somebody, Gopal Chapel left paraphernalia for the worship of Durga outside his house, and then he went around the whole village saying, just look at this Srivas. He worships Durga. And Srivas accepted it. Yeah, fine. So what's the problem? What's your issue with that? It's my house, I'll do whatever I want. So it shows that in devotional lives, people will offend. People will criticize. Srivas's house was broken into by the Qazi and his police group. Of course, the Brahmins complained that Mahaprabhu's mission was becoming popular and that the Qazi should stop it, otherwise it would be impacting them. So the first place of target was Mahaprabhu, was Srivas's house. Mridangas were broken, people were hurt, and so on. So for the jiva, this holding on to or cultivating this attachment for Krishna is always going to have challenges. And what Srivas represents is this deep and intense faith. Whatever challenge comes, whatever insult comes, whatever may happen, whatever anyone says, I am not giving up this path. I am not giving up, this my connection to Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Mahaprabhu prays, Trinada Visuni Chena, Garoda Visaishana, Amanina, Manadina, Kirtanyashtahi, tolerance, humility, respect for all. We need to cultivate this if we're going to experience this love for Krishna in our life, despite whatever the world's throwing us, despite whatever, reversals, challenges, upheavals, things that don't work our way, because just because we are devotees of Krishna, the modes of nature do not stop being the modes of nature. It doesn't, we're still in this world. The modes of nature will still try to kind of throw us around in the mixer and challenge us. But we tolerate, we have humility, we have respect for others. So again, each of these beautiful personalities demonstrate what we can experience, what we can live. And so therefore, Panca, we're part of their team. Panca work continues today. And all of you are representing that work. And, must take shelter, offer prayer, seek, blessings to continue that work of, becoming a devotee, sharing being a devotee with others, reviving how to become a devotee in people who haven't had that opportunity. So if we were to summarize, this mission of Panchatattva, there are three things we can refer to. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who is really the visionary of bringing to life Panchatattva's mission, the one who had a global perspective of Panchatattva's mission. Prior to that, it was all an exaggeration. Lord Chaitanya said, every town and village, Krishna's names will be heard. People thought, wow, isn't that glorious? That sounds really good, Mahaprabhu. Good slogan. You've got global reach. But everybody thought, yeah, it just sounds good. Just how powerful the holy name is. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, if he said that, then that's going to happen. And he made it happen. He was the first one to bring Panchatattva's, Lord Chaitanya's teachings into English. With that in mind, he said the first one to send that message of Panchatattva outside of India, with that in mind. In the same year, 1896, that Srila Prabhupada was born. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he having studied the entirety of Lord Chaitanya, Panchatattva's teachings, character, personality, he summarized it into 3 things. And again, these 3 things are available for us. It not only summarizes them, but it gives us access to them by us living these 3 things. And these 3 things are the Krishna conscious movement. These 3 things are the mission of Panchatattva. First thing, Jiva Doya, compassion for all beings. Everybody repeat that. Jiva Doya.
Jiva Doya.
Compassion for all living beings. So we see that in Lord Nityananda, we see that in the prayers of Advaita Acharya, we see that in Mahaprabhu, I have to come. We see that in Srivas Thakur, in the opening up of his home for the kirtan and everything else that happens after that. And as the Krishna conscious movement, we really have to pay attention to the word jiva. And we have to pay attention to what Panchatattva want. It's beautifully described. They discriminate against no one. But you don't find anywhere where Panchatattva said, well, don't like that group over there, we'll ignore them. But this group over here is brilliant, let's give them pure love. There's no discrimination. Jiva means jiva. But what does jiva really mean in this context? And here's an important verse. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Satya Kavanoi. And what this means is every jiva has dormant within them love for Krishna. It does not matter what the external body of the jiva is. It can be an ant, it can be an elephant, it can be a human being that we detest. That's our problem. But in the jiva, there is this dormant love. The mission of Panchatattva is that we all now have become very active in cultivating this dormant love. You know, this love is beginning to take, it's active. We're doing something. Shravanadi, Sudejite. We're hearing, we're chanting, and we're reviving this love. So the duty of one who, if you're playing on Panchatattva side, the duty of anyone who's part of this team is that if you've become active in cultivating this love, then you have to go to those jivas whose dormant love is sitting there, is inactive. The only way the dormant love, the inactive love in a jiva can be activated is by somebody who's active in that love. It doesn't just happen. You need someone active in love for Krishna that awakens someone who is inactive in their love. So, without discrimination, Panchatattva opened the seal of love for God and have made it available for every jiva. In Bhagavad Gita 18, verse 20, Krishna says, Sarva Bhuteshu Yenaikam. He goes on to explain knowledge in the mode of goodness is to see Sarva Bhuteshu, every living being, is to see the true spiritual nature of all beings. That's what we cultivate. Knowledge in the mode of passion is to see, okay, I don't see the true spiritual nature in all beings, but I see that in all beings there's, a soul, but they're all different. These guys are good, these guys are bad. Knowledge in passion divides, discriminates. I don't like the religion of those guys, I don't like the way they're dressed, I don't like the guys sitting on the chairs, I don't like I like these guys that are duality. Passion always means duality. In Panchatattva, there's no duality. We are here for every jiva. And of course, somehow there's knowledge in the mode of ignorance. Somehow. And Krishna says, knowledge in the mode of ignorance is when you have an idea and you make that all in all. You make that, okay, I have a little idea, but that's everything. That's the absolute. I've created a wonderful idea out of something. In today's language, that's called extremism. So, Sarva Bhuteshu Yenaikam, I have this vision of spiritual vision, seeing the true spiritual nature of all living beings. That is what Panchatattva invite us to do in expressing Jiva Dvaya. Number one. Number two, Namaruchi, which is the foundation of their mission. The name of Krishna is Krishna. The name of Krishna revives pure love. And we just have to bring three things to chant the name of Krishna. Our voice, our faith, and our attention. I mean, we all like the sound of our voice, don't we? We all think we have a good voice. That's okay, because we need it. Because by hearing our voice call out the name of Krishna, and by giving faith and giving attention to that, calling out to Krishna, revives and activates our love. And that's all we have to do. And we share that with others. We share this Namaruchi. When Prabhupada said the perfection of life is to sit before Panchatattva and chant Hare Krishna, it's only possible if there's this ruchi, this taste, this affection. And by study and by association and by understanding of the holy name. By the way, if you read this chapter 7, beautiful glorifications of the holy name. Krishna name hoite bhave Krishnera charan. That's one of the verses in this chapter. Krishna name hoite bhave Krishnera charan. One who chants the holy name of Krishna attains the lotus feet of Krishna. Another verse that Mahaprabhu chants in this chapter, he says, my Guru told me to hold this verse in my throat. Have you ever tried holding a verse in your throat? Anyone tried that? Veer, have you tried holding a verse in your throat? Okay, you're going to try it from today, okay? Hold this verse in your throat. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. Kalo Nasteva, Nasteva, Nasteva. What does it mean to hold it in your throat? Well, first of all, it means learn it. Because otherwise, what am I holding in my throat? Secondly, it means that it's on the tip of my tongue. It's like, oh, this is what I meant to do. As soon as I'm distracted by something, oh, wait a minute, I don't know, it's in my throat. I've got something in my throat, okay, my throat. It's to be reminded. And Mahaprabhu said, my Guru told me, hold this mantra in your throat. Which means, be driven by it, be lived by this. There is no other way other than the name of Krishna. Jiva Doya, we give this to all jivas because they have dormant love. Namaruchi, this is both the gift we give and how we encourage them to build this ruchi. And the third thing, the third principle is Vaishnava Seva. Well, we've heard enough of that we've heard so much about that in brief, just with the way Panchatattva behave with each other. They just want to serve one another. The whole of the biography of Lord Chaitanya in Chaitanya Charitamrita is Vaishnava Seva. Trying to serve the devotees. Now sometimes we might ask, well, aren't all the Vaishnavas jivas? So haven't we taken care of them in Jiva Doya? Why do we have to create a separate category just for the Vaishnavas? That's the question. I'm compassionate to all living beings, and that surely includes all of the Vaishnavas. But why Jivadoya Namaruchi? Why this third category of Vaishnavas who are already Jivas?
We're the servants of the servant of the servant of the Lord. And we cannot serve Krishna directly unless we were Nityasiddha, like Nanda Maharajas. So by serving the Vaishnava is the only way we can serve and please Krishna. In fact, Krishna is more pleased if we serve. So there's a difference, because if you're, like you were talking about, if you have equal vision, and like the Uttama Adhikari, the highest devotee sees everybody as a pure devotee. That's how they see. But actually, some jivas are asleep and others are awake.
Right.
And the Vaishnavas are awake and actively serving the Lord.
Great point.
So,
We have to follow an example at Vaishnavas. We have to find amongst Vaishnavas somebody who's, it might be hard, but at least if you can come to the realization that there's at least one person who's better than me. We have to come to at least that realization.
everybody, every Vaishnava.
Yeah, we may not be able to see everyone as better than me, but work on at least one person being better than me.
Like your guru, for example.
Well, yes, exactly. And then follow them. The other reason why Vaishnava is a separate category is because they're dear to Krishna. And so how we treat them, how we behave with them, how we interact with them is very important. If you look at Krishna's progression in the Gita of how he refers to the jiva, very interesting. In the first 6 chapters, Krishna is just very matter of fact. In fact, he gives the eternal characteristics of the jiva in chapter 2, and then he says, every jiva is amazing. And that's his glorification of every jiva. But in the middle 6 chapters, we hear some very intimate connection, in some intimate expression for the jiva that's cultivating this love for him. Their thoughts dwell in me. They derive great satisfaction from me. I give them special mercy. It's a very open love exchange that Krishna has for those that are surrendering to him. And then in chapter 12, for 7 consecutive verses, he lists the characteristics of this Vaishnava and ends each verse, they are dear to me, they are dear to me, they are dear to me. So that's why they get their own category, because they're very dear to Krishna. And so we have to make them dear to us in our life. So these 3 principles summarize Panca Tattva. And I better end. The last 2 verses of chapter 7. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Advaita Dinajan Srinivas Gadadhar Adiyata Bhaktadan. While chanting the Panca Tattva Maha Mantra, one must chant the names of Sri Chaitanya, Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, and Srivas with their many devotees. So when we say Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Ghora Bhakta Vrinda. Now you have to be careful when you say that. Because when you say that, you've offered your prayers, you've offered your obeisances to all 5 of them. But when you say Adi Ghora Bhakta Vrinda, you have to be careful about that. Is because you're offering obeisance to everyone else who's in the room, everyone else who's around. So we have to mean that I offer my obeisance to everyone, because they're all devotees in Panca Tattva. Shabbakara Pada Padma Koti Namaskar. Yai Chaitai Chaikahi Kichu Chaitanya Vihar. I again and again offer my obeisances unto Panchatattva. Thus, I think that I will be able to describe something about the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the final verse of this chapter, with a beautiful instruction and blessing from Prabhupada. Shri Rupa Raghunatha Pade Yara Ash Chaitanya Charitam Vitakahe Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. And Prabhupada concludes this chapter and everything else that was happening in this chapter. He says, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to preach the Sankirtan movement of love of Krishna throughout the entire world. And therefore, during his presence, he inspired the Sankirtan movement. Specifically, he sent Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami to Vrindavan, and Nityananda to Bengal, and personally went to South India. In this way, listen to this invitation, instruction, and blessing. In this way, he kindly left the task of preaching his cult in the rest of the world to the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. The members of this society must always remember that if they stick to the regulative principles and preach sincerely according to the instructions of the Acharyas, surely they will have the profound blessings of Lord Chaitanya, and their preaching work will be successful everywhere throughout the world. Shri Shri Panchatattva ki Jai! Dear devotees, I've gone over time, but thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Pradyumna Prabhu ki
Jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Any reflections, any questions?
There was just one thought that came to mind as you were talking about these three principles. Vaishnava Seva. It made me think about the opposite of that, which is Vaishnava Parad, which is the greatest offence that you can commit, completely initiated into chanting the holy name. We're told to avoid, we must chant, but avoiding the 10 offences. And of all the 10 offences, the Vaishnava Parad is the one that destroys the devotion of people.
Mad elephant.
So we've got to be so careful. And, if we do make a mistake and offend a devotee, it can happen. The only way to get free from that is to go to that Vaishnava and beg their forgiveness. It's a bit of a negative side to things, but we've got to
Well,
serve the
if we
devotees,
live our lives with the aspiration of glorifying devotees,
then there's no problem.
right. Bhaktisiddhanta said, Saraswati Thakur said that we are a mutually appreciating society, something like that. I don't think I've got it quite right, but mutual appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was such an important class for the community to hear, because I think for many, we currently have Sri Gauranga, we have Panca, but it's so easy for us to just get mechanical and not know who these personalities on the altar are. So it was really wonderful to hear it and just hear the science behind why they're placed where they are.
But you're part of that team. ISKCON Crawley, the Bhakti Center is, Bhakti Yoga Center is, you're part of that team. Panchatattva have a team in Crawley, and they serve at the Bhakti Yoga Center. Panchatattva have a team in Leicester, they have a team in Scotland, they have a team in Brighton, they have a team all over the world. They want to know how are these teams getting on? What are they doing? Prasadam was great, but so we're part of that team. So we take their blessings, we report into them, and Prabhupada's the captain of the team. He's guiding them. And sub-teams and sub-captains. And yeah, we're part of their team. And that's why their leader continues beyond any other incarnation who's appeared in the world. Sorry, you were going to say something.
Yeah, also, the only reason why I know this is a really stupid reason, but it was my dad.
That is my okay, fine.
And the only reason why I know is because years ago I was a part of a play, and I was like, oh, maybe I get to be Haridas Thakur. Me and my friend got picked to be Jaga and Mother. And the only reason why I know that it's Mother is because he chucked the pot, and I was just happy that I was the little bit less.
Yeah, right. That transformative spark.
That's the only reason why.
Yeah. If you want to remember leader, take the part in the drama. Thank you.
I mean, I also wanted to say, this is the first time I've been to this gathering. I've been aware of it, but I'm always going to Brighton. And I've benefited greatly, firstly, by meeting all these wonderful devotees and witnessing all the enthusiasm and excellent organisation of this. I was even thinking, why do they have prasadam first? Because normally you have kirtan class and then prasad, otherwise people might go, you know? But anyway, everybody stayed after prasad, and I'm sure it was good.
There were no rumbling stomachs, that's why. There was full attention.
Very pleased to have met and associated with all these wonderful Vaishnavas. But also, it's Krishna's special mercy that I was here to hear you, because you have given a very informative and a very inspiring class.
Well, thank you for your encouragement.
And I'm sure you'll pass that praise up to Srila Prabhupada and so on and so forth. But it's a special class, and I'm very pleased.
Well, we have to pass it on to Srila Prabhupada and on to Panca Tattva.
Yes,
Okay. Let us conclude here. Thank you all so much. And continue doing the work that you're doing on behalf of Panca Tattva. And may they continue to bless you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Sri Panca Tattva ki jai, Sri Prabhupada ki jai.